The bottom side targets we spoke of in last night's thread of analysis worked out like a charm. There are signals that are suggesting an upside continuation, but we must be mindful of inflection points and moving averages as they will serve as key indicators for the price potentials. Welcome back to the channel on this Monday. This is ARCa. Let's dive into ticker symbol CLNV. What is up, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. I would like to point out something very critical here in CLNV, actually, and I'm noticing this just now, and I did not notice it yesterday, but there is quite a reason for the price action to pull back, and it's not a bad reason, and actually it's highly encouraged, and I do believe that this would be a very, very interesting way to accumulate your bulls, right? So in this case, let's just go ahead and get rid of some moving averages here so that I can shed light over what I'm currently observing, right? So what you are looking at here, we're gonna make them real visible here. What you are looking at here is the purple SMA 200, which is a 200 simple moving average, and the 50-day simple moving average approaching the 200. So what that means is actually we're setting up for a potential very bullish crossover into bull market territory regarding this ticker in particular. And that would be the golden cross. Okay, so we're looking at here the SMA 50 approaching that SMA 200, and it could be in the following days. Right, so it really depends on how price action reacts to this, right? So let's look at the daily time frame too. Check out the daily even closer, right? So this is looking very, very, very good. So you can see price action here, broke, particularly this, right? We broke beneath the SMA 50 here, right? And then you start to get these wicks to the upside to validate the resistance of the SMA 50. Right, and not even to mention here, right? So not even to mention here that we break beneath the SMA 200, we get the validation of resistance at that SMA 200 and the death cross, which is the 50 below the SMA 200 on a daily. This happened back in June of this year, and now we actually, right. So we came up, we couldn't break through that SMA 50. We weren't ready yet, right? So price action continued to the downside here. You can see now we're knocking at the door here of that SMA 50, right? We knocked at the door and finally we just break above it. And price action has not come back to test that SMA 50 again since that time. So we break over here above the SMA 200 and we actually come all the way up there to that area of about 740 where we looked at price action just a few weeks ago. Then we came back and started testing the SMA 200 as support. But as we start to approach this golden cross, it's very likely that price action wants to come back and start validating both of them. So this is why we came back and validated finally the SMA 50, right? We came right back down here and now price action bounced from that SMA 50. Good call. I like it. Now we have to validate both of them. We have to validate the SMA 200 as well. Okay, so I can't tell you for a fact that price action will reach all the way back down to the area of around 435 or 434 because that is kind of a large capitulation, but there is an indication of that potential. Okay, now the 12-hour time frame is suggesting a bottom side target of very similar, actually that 435 as well. Okay, so something that could be in the way of price action from reaching down to those targets would actually be the simple fact that we have the linear regression channel right down here, right? So that would be at around 466, but might as well, right? You just might as well just get a wick to the downside just like this here, flash it, and then upside we go, right? So yeah, there is a potential here of getting a very bullish test of a moving average that is usually known to be pretty, it would give you the indications of a bull market cycle when above it, right? Especially when you get this SMA crossover. Okay, so that is a very, very, very clear indication over what's happening presently on the price action, right? So I want to jump into some let's see, shorter time frames. I know this is still the daily time frame, it's all good, but the reason why I want to mention that is because we have actually ARCa Bull's member Origin. He actually and master student, right? He actually gave us a drawing here, actually, of his ARQ Composure subscription, right? So he is an owner of the ARQ indicators, and this is Composure, which is the indicator that gives us the manipulation in the market, right? So I want you to notice here that we have several strikes and counts of manipulation in the market here all throughout the day, starting from these areas here on the 1 minute, by minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute, and 15-minute charts. Literally just surrounded with, I'm sorry, not all day, surrounded within this time frame here. Okay, so this was all for CLNV here. So thank you so much, my brother, for sharing this with us, right? Well, yeah, but we have multiple counts of strikes of manipulation in the market, and that essentially was helping price and assisting price to the downside. I mean, the thing is that we also saw the potential of a downside continuation nonetheless, right? We spoke about this yesterday. We said that it would be very clear for us to come back to the area of about 510, and price action essentially capitulated to around 493 and closed at 5, right? So we were pretty close with those targets there, although we still had a concentrated area that was 489 to 504. All good. Okay, so all good, all good, all good. And also just please remember that there is a breakout prep here. So if we are starting to look at a potential downside here, we already had some targets of interest, and those targets are literally within 455 to 423. Now, the reason why we have these targets here is because there is a potential here for price action to come back down and start validating the break of resistance from this regression here, which is a falling wedge and a bullish formation at that, right? So this formation would be suggesting a continuation to the upside just based on its existence, right? So this is indicating a breakout here. This is the clean breakout place. We were observing several targets here over the last few days, right? So let's go ahead and take one of those targets into consideration, which would be the very backside of the formation itself, and this would be the breakout candle with no exposure to the inside of the regression, right? So let's go ahead and apply it right there, and the target being suggested for the price action here would be at about 604. Right, so very nice. Now, the secondary target would actually be the center of the triangle, right? So right from the top side of the triangle all the way to the bottom side, you take that price objective, you put it at that breakout place, right? Which would be this one here, right? So we'll just scooch it on over, and we may actually have to scooch it on over one more time, and that is suggesting a 525 target. And you can see here that we've already achieved that 525. So it doesn't even matter of us getting the shorter term price objective, right? So yeah, what's being worked on right now is actually this. Let me get rid of this here. What's being currently worked on is this target right over here at 605, right? So now when you break out from resistances like these, right? I see the daily test, right? I see the breakout and I see the daily test here, and a continuation to the upside. That's nice, but I'm not sure if that was to test this or if it was a massive sell-off of some sort or some type of manipulation or whatever, but price action is indicating a continuation to the downside. Of course, we have some very, very strong areas of support down there. There's no guarantee that we would reach all the way down there, but it is curious that we would start turning around and then, suggest here that we would touch these bottom side targets. But now remember that 423 and 455 rhyme very well with the bottom side targets that we were observing right over here. This is the SMA 200 at 434, SMA 50 located right at about 420, right? So you can see how well these things are actually rhyming with each other, right? So, could that be the possibility? I don't know. But yeah, right here, look, 455, 423. Oh, man. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at momentum and see if we have any of those potential suggestions, right? So let's go to the 30-minute, actually. So 30-minute immediate short term is suggesting a resistance right now, right? So you can see here that we're testing that resistance. There could be a pullback followed by that, seeing that the SMA 14 also can work as resistance, right? But I will tell you that the 3-hour and the 4-hour pretty much did exactly what we spoke of yesterday, with, of course, just certain deviations, right? We expected this pivot to actually happen just slightly upside or into this area here. So, but yeah, for the most part, even this, we got the slight upside, we got the break beneath the SMA 14 and the pivot to the upside. All of that stuff worked out just like we said, right? So now if we move on to the daily time frame, you'll notice here that the daily time frame still has a fair way towards the downside, right? And now the thing is here is that this is very clear on the daily time frame that, the RSI signal representing price would actually continue to the downside here and eventually fail the SMA 14. It would not bounce from there. And why would ARCa be saying that? Well, if you're noticing here in these areas, right down here, you're noticing that all of these points here are gravitational zones, right? So if we're suggesting continuation to the downside, then the signal line would exactly land with the moving average right at the gravitational zone of the bull weakness percentile, which means that we would actually get pulled, succeed the bottom side of the SMA 14 and catch some type of other support. Where and why and when? Well, it appears as though the bi-daily time frame, let's see. Actually, was it the 5? Man, don't tell me that. Let's just move onwards. Yeah. So it looks like the 5-day and the weekly timeframes would be the culprits behind that, right? So, and it's still in a very dangerous area there too, right? So yeah, if we succeed the bottom side of that daily time frame, my goodness in heaven, right? Then the bi-daily time frame is already suggesting a downside continuation. Although I will say that it is in a very critical support here. Right, it is in the gravitational zone at this point. So I mean, this could still technically go down a little bit and then continue on to the upside. But it is the bi-daily, so that little bit could be the difference of like 2 cents or something, right? So careful, right? So I guess we're just gonna have to take this step by step. But it is looking pretty good thus far. Okay, I think that it's important and critical for price action to start validating this shift of a bull market, right? So, I mean, if we look historically, oh my goodness. Yeah, if we look in historical price action, when we cross that SMA 50 upside of the SMA 200, check this out. We got that huge upside, then price action came all the way back down and tested the crossover, right? Right there. Look what's happening right now. We went all the way up there. Now we're coming back and we're about to test these crossovers, right? And I think this is going to test a crossover right when it does crossover or right after, just like this one, right? So now, same situation here, right? We were inching towards that SMA 200 and 50 crossover. This thing rallied to the upside and then we came back, but it looks like the crossover got entirely overshot here and there was just no hope left for that iteration there. Same situation here, right? Price action continued on to the upside, and as soon as these things crossed over, price action, started coming down in anticipation of that. The drop is always the dangerous thing. It's a dangerous thing because we don't know how much this drop can influence stop losses, can influence panic sells when people don't know why the drop is actually happening. Right. So, yeah, I just want to point out that in anticipation of a bullish crossover, there's always price action leading towards the upside in a very aggressive manner, in anticipation of that. Right. So this is likely why we faced the massive upside that we just faced here. Right. So it's in anticipation of the SMA 250 crossover. So it's looking OK, team. So now you know the risks, you know the upsides and downsides. So please go ahead and practice safe in the markets, and definitely know that tomorrow is the inflation report. So I would recommend for my master students to stay entirely cash. So please be careful with what's coming up. Okay, team? Please take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. I need you to do your own due diligence and everything will be cool. But with that said, team, I wish you well, a very, very good rest of your night, and I will catch you at the bell, quite literally, mañana. Adios. Yeah.